So what you're looking at here is Bosch Video Management System, or what we affectionately refer to as BVMS. BVMS is Bosch's video management system, of course, but don't get hung up on that fact. This works in several video management systems. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to playback. I don't actually have any live cameras hooked up to this system, and even the ones I could aren't looking at anything interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to the timeline, and I'm going to load some exported video that I have saved on my computer. And I'm going to drop this video in. And now you can kind of see what we're working with here. We got another street corner. This street corner happens to be in Columbus, Ohio. It's part of a smart traffic project that we've worked on for a couple of years now. But for our intents and purposes today, it's just another corner looking at or another camera looking at another street corner and taking notes about what's happening on this street corner. You'll notice that this export contains 24 hours worth of video. So I'm going to grab all 24 hours of that video out of the timeline down here. And I'm going to tell the system that I'd like to search it. And you'll see it'll actually populate with the rules, or the tasks, I should say, that this camera was performing on this corner. It was mostly looking at speed. Vehicles less than 20 miles an hour, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, etc. We're also looking for folks in the crosswalk. We're counting bikes or motorcycles in each direction, even a minibus counter, which I'll hit on a little bit more here in a moment. For our purposes, I don't want any of those things, so I'm going to get rid of the minibus counter. To be clear, I'm not deleting the minibus counter out of the camera. I'm simply telling the system that that is not the criteria by which I want to search. Instead, I'm going to follow this as if it's just a normal computer wizard. I'm going to hit the plus sign indicating that I want to generate a new task. And here you'll see a list of tasks that I can use: object and field, line crossing, loitering, condition changes like a slip and fall alarm, idle and removed objects. Pretty straightforward things. They're all pretty self-explanatory. In the interest of simplicity, I'm just going to grab a standard object and field task. And I'm going to hit next. So the next thing that the wizard wants to know is, where do I care about? You'll see it defaults to the whole screen. Well, I don't want the whole screen, so I'm going to tell it I want a new field. And you'll see it quickly pops up a box that I can work with and manipulate to cover whatever region of this image is important to me. You can get really fancy with these fields and add nodes and make them all kinds of crazy shapes to cover exactly what you want, and maybe more importantly, what you don't want. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to keep it simple. I just want this main portion of the intersection to be included. So there you can see my box. I'm going to click next again. Once I've defined where I care about, the system's going to ask me, what do I care about? So you can see our standard object classes. If you remember those classification flags that we saw a moment ago, we've got upright people, bikes, cars, and trucks. Those are all the flags that we saw in the previous video. You'll notice we also have this additional section of camera trainer object classes. And within that, we have the minibus, if you'll remember the minibus counter. So many of Bosch's cameras, including the 8000i series that I just showed you, have a machine learning algorithm that we call camera trainer. And what camera trainer allows you to do is teach the camera objects that don't fit into standard classifications. In this case, this neighborhood has an autonomous minibus that takes people for rides around the neighborhood, point A to point B. What was done here is this camera was trained to recognize the minibus. And so that's how it was counting minibuses, and that's why it's a search criteria that we have available to us, because it was added to the metadata. What's really unique about Camera Trainer is it's, to my knowledge, the only video analytics product that is not motion-based. So if you've ever seen the movie Jurassic Park, there's a scene in there where one guy says to the other, hold really still, because the dinosaurs, the T-Rex's vision is based on movement. If you don't move, he can't see you. And that exact principle is kind of how cameras work. All of the video analytics, from the early days of motion detection all the way up to the most robust analytics to today, are primarily based on motion. Some sort of pixel change needs to happen for the camera to figure out what's going on. What's cool about Camera Trainer is we can train it on an object, or even on the lack of an object, like an empty parking space. And it's going to see that object's properties, whether it's moving or not. So being able to see what's not happening or being able to see what's not there is actually a really challenging problem to solve. And Camera Trainer solves that problem. In so doing, opens a whole new dimension to video analytics that has not been available before. For this search, we're not actually going to look for the minibus. Again, I want to keep it simple. I'm going to look just for cars and trucks. All I care about is vehicles in this main portion of the intersection. So again, I'm going to hit next. We've got the option to further define our filters by a specific size, a specific shape, certain speed, certain direction. I'm going to skip through all of that. I am going to add a color filter here, though. I'm going to tell it I only want yellow vehicles, because if I search for vehicles in this intersection across 24 hours, I'm going to get literally hundreds of hits, and I want to reduce my results. So I'm only going to look for yellow vehicles. Now, before I actually hit search, I want you to make note of just how quickly this search occurs. So I'm going to hit search in 3, 2, 1, search. You'll see the progress bar moves very quickly, and not long after that, we're going to see 3 hits found. The reason this search can happen so quickly is, again, because of that metadata stream. The few products on the market that do some version of forensic search have to watch the video for you. They're server-based, they take a lot of resources, and they can watch video faster than a human can, but they're still having to scrub through that video. Whereas our platform, because all the analytics occur at the edge in the camera and then are stored in the form of metadata, all we have to do is look through those notes. So imagine you had to find that line in Jurassic Park, and you had 2 options. You had a file on your desk with an MP4 where you could fast forward and rewind until you got to that exact point in the movie. Or would you be faster if you had a script of the movie and you could just do a Control F and go straight to the line that talked about movement? Obviously, the latter is much faster. Just searching through the notes is going to get you there a lot more quickly than scrubbing through the video. And that's what we've done here. So if I use that to go click on my results, here are 3 hits that it found. The first one was at 1:02 p.m. And if I click on that event, you'll see we had a yellow taxi cab that drove through our intersection. Later that night, 9:17 p.m., we had another event. This is a Corson Fire and Security van. Any of you guys who are in the Midwest may be familiar with this company. They're a large regional integrator in the Midwest. I'd also like to point out that our Starlight technology here, I mentioned at the beginning that in order for a lot of these other technologies to work, you have to start with a great image. So the fact that we're getting a nice tight color image, even well after dark, is allowing us to do this color search. Obviously, if we're blaring IR into this intersection, even if we can see all the objects well, we certainly can't tell what color they are in that scenario. Last but not least, a few minutes later, 9:21 p.m., we got this yellow Camaro, kind of looks like Bumblebee. So you can see 24 hours worth of video, literally in a matter of seconds, filtered down to 3 events that are relevant to what we wanted to see. Even though that task was not set up ahead of time. So we're not just searching for something that the camera was already searching for. We're literally just scrubbing through those notes. Very, very powerful tool.